Hi there, I'm Christine Zips, and getting into some interesting new territory today. And as if many of you who might be following my work, you know I've been focused on Wi-Fi in schools and GMOs and all that sort of information, exposure to wireless technology and how that is harming us. But today we're just kind of brainstorming and venturing into some new territory that's quite interesting and a reflection of our times, looking into things such as intentional communities and prepping, homesteading, just to be prepared for whatever might come our way. And with the instability in our world these days, you never know. It could be this or it could be that. And but I think we can live our lives, set aside the fear, if we're prepared to meet just about anything that might come our way. Anyway, Daniel Johns is joining us today, and he's been delving into this information out of Florida and just kind of picking his brain a little bit to see what he's found. So that's very good. So Dan, if we were starting to chat before I started the recording, if you'd like to share with us, to the extent you're comfortable, what you've been doing with your group and others who've joined you in Florida, we'd love to hear about that.
It's a concept that came up about 3-4 years ago when we were studying end times prophecies and the fact that the end times would be like in the days of Noah. And we all know that Noah and his family were protected from the wrath of God by an ark that was provided to the family. And on the ark, they had just the things they needed to stay alive and be somewhat comfortable while the wicked were being dealt with. Well, we've reached that point in history once again. The wicked have taken over this world. They're destroying this world. They're polluting it. They're destroying the environment, animal life, vegetation, and human life. So our question was, what form would our Heavenly Father build an ark in this day and age? So we came up with the concept of ark communities. So believers are also commanded to come out of Babylon, that we don't partake of her plagues. And this whole COVID insanity is a perfect example of that. So the people that have any faith at all and have any integrity at all, they are wanting to pull out from this insanity. And so our concept was ark communities, A-R-K, ark communities, where we could obtain land, whether it's donated or we find some out-of-the-box way to obtain land, where we could live like the Amish. I guess that's the simplest way to put it. I grew up in Amish country in Pennsylvania, so I'm very familiar with how the Amish live. I'm part German myself, so German and Amish are almost identical. But it's basically get back to the basics of life that are important and leave this Babylonian bullshit behind with all of its trinkets and baubles like fancy cars and Wi-Fi's and computers and all the things that, quote, make life interesting and convenient. Of course, we know the road to hell is paved with convenience, right? So our Father didn't put us here to just absorb all these entertainments and booze and drugs and casual sex and all the things that Babylon wants us to do. So those that care about that get together on communities where we'll be like the Amish again. We would live close together, but not on top of each other, close enough together to guard each other, to fellowship, to teach anybody from the community that wants to come in and learn about natural farming and husbandry of animals, proper cooking, to not waste all the nutrient in your food. People don't even know about that. How to grow organically, how to raise animals humanely. For those of us that still eat meat, how to humanely raise the animal and to slaughter the animal. All those kind of things be on this community. And it would be a center for protection, but also a place where the outside world could know they could come for peace and quiet and honesty. That would be paramount. You know, nobody's going to be part of the community that's not 100% honest and forthright. A large part of what my job would be on any community I'm involved with is to vet people out. We don't, you know, it's much easier to vet people from coming in than deal with somebody once they're in and get them out.
Good point.
So we would want to make sure, just like the Amish do, you don't become a member of the Amish community unless you pass the test. And if you decide to go the way of the world, you're not going to bring the world into their community. They'll get rid of you. Well, we have the same idea. As long as you're honest, hardworking, love people, love honesty, love clean food, want to share the truth, whether it's the truth of our Creator or it's the truth of how we should live clean and decent lives and how to protect the body from disease. All those things. If you're part of that, then you would be welcome in the community. But
I love that
violations of God's law are forbidden.
I love that you share that, and please, I don't mean to be interrupting you, but I've been looking into this, and two questions come up right now. What is your vision for the numbers in your community? Are you looking at maybe 10, 50, 100? Or
Well,
do you have any?
I keep a list of, just in my case, how many people have told me that if we get a piece of land, they would be glad to be part of it.
Right.
But I would say that list for me right now would be between 30 and 50 people at the moment.
That sounds like a good amount. And another thing I'm interested in too is, and you touched upon it, is how to handle the inevitable. Anytime you get more than two people together, there's going to be conflict because human nature. And how I've been watching some other videos and reading articles, and so many of them say that ideally, you know, you like two people have a disagreement, and that we just encourage that they do their best to work that out themselves, even if they need to come to a place where they're going to need to agree to disagree for purposes of harmony among the group. And if they're not able to get to that point, then they could reach out to, maybe there's a core group, I don't know, to have some ideas to improve that situation. But obviously you can't have that dissension that could turn into a bit of a cancer that's just not going to be for the benefit of everyone. So yeah, that's one of my concerns. I don't like to deal, I don't think anyone likes to deal with awkward situations such as that, but you definitely need to have a policy. And it also seems like a lot of the groups I've been observing, there's quite a bit of politics involved. And it seems like this one group, they have a committee for everything. Like they have 3 vehicles in the group, and they've all decided that not everybody's going to have their own vehicle. I mean, you're going to have different things for different groups, but they have like 5 vehicles, like in a pool, and they share them almost like in a library type checkout system. And I think that's kind of a cool idea, but they have a committee for the vehicles. They have a committee for the garden. They have a committee for the preserving of food. And maybe that's a good idea, but it also seems a little bit awfully structured. I don't know.
Yeah, we would want to do it the biblical way, which governance starts with the individual, who should be self-governing. If it gets out of hand with the individual, then it's within the family. If the family can't handle it, it goes to the neighbors. So again, you solve the problem as local to the problem itself as you can before you involve anybody outside. So it never got up to Moses. Very few things ever got up to Moses in the days of the Israelites. So if a captain of 10, that's where we get the word chieftain, the captain of 10 families. So maybe today it would be like a precinct captain. If the families can't solve it in the immediate area of the trouble, then you bring in the precinct captain or the chieftain. If he can't solve it, he goes to the guy that's in charge of 5 or 10 chieftains, and he tries to resolve it. If he can't do it, then you go the next level till you finally get to the guy who is the most important elected official you got, and that's the leader of the community. He's got to be like a Moses. He's got to be absolutely stellar character. He's got to be rock solid in his faith. He's got to be intelligent. He's got to be sober. He's got to be even-tempered. All through Scripture, that's who you make your leaders. So the community leader would be the one who has final say, but that's only if it gets to his level. He doesn't dictate anything down to the family level, or like you said, too many committees, and that becomes like a bureaucracy, and they're ugly. It's up to individuals. I mean, so, but if it can't be solved, then it finally gets up to him to call in witnesses and take testimony, and then he has to make a decision. And that's also how you would handle the bad apple, as you called it, that might come into the community at some point. If it gets up to his level, he has the authority to say, you just need to leave. That's it.
Mm-hmm. And that's interesting. And I love hearing that. And we've been checking into various ways of preserving food, from having cellar storage, various ways of having cellar storage, keeping track of the temperature and humidity, and preserving and canning and freezing and all of that stuff. I'd love to learn more about medicinal herbs and medicinal plants. And I think it'd be very helpful to have at least one person in the group who has a bit of a naturopathic medical background, that they can address, wounds and just tend to little boo-boos that pop up or something serious, and, have measures in place for how to handle those things that will inevitably come up, to try to help decide at what point you do need some, more allopathic attention.
Exactly. Well, in this day and age, I agree with the naturopaths that I've talked to. I'm not going to go to a hospital. I would rather die first. So,
especially now.
Especially now. I don't even go to an eye doctor or a dentist today. I won't go.
I feel the same way. And actually, I have a couple of little matters that probably could, other people would be going to the doctor, but I do the risk benefit analysis, and I'm thinking, no, I'm doing my best to treat myself. And so far, so good. But yeah, absolutely. Right. I do believe in Aristotle, let food be thy medicine, and medicine be food. And there's so many things, like even dandelions. Long don't put pesticides on them, they have wonderful, wonderful properties and qualities. So
I had a toothache that normally I would have went to the dentist, and he would have said either to crown it or pull it or whatever. And you know what I found out? You just take a little clove.
Yes.
A little clove, like you used to put in a ham.
Or clove
Stick that
oil.
clove up in your jaw, and for the next 12 to 18 hours, your gum is numb right where the clove is.
Right.
Natural Novocaine.
But did it heal? Did it heal the problem?
Yeah. Over time, I kept the clove in there for about a week.
Right.
I changed it, but I kept a clove in there for about a week's time, and I noticed that the pain was subsiding. So the body, given time, will heal almost anything. If you think about it, we didn't have dentists 1,000 years ago.
No,
we didn't have, you were out walking through the wilderness. You didn't have a dentist to go to or a doctor. Right. You had to figure out ways to help the body heal itself and give it time to heal. If you give it time and the right foods and vitamins and minerals and all that, it will heal itself.
Absolutely.
Almost anything. I've been shocked at how many things can heal if you can just give it the time. Well, I just lost my cousin a few months ago, who was very close to me in both age and in personality. He was like a brother of mine. Lost him. He went into the hospital because of a motorcycle accident, and we are convinced that they gave him the vaccine because 2 weeks later, he was getting ready to be discharged from the hospital. He was feeling fine. And then the next morning, I get the call from his brother saying that my cousin Zane had died. And again, they mentioned clotting and possible organ failure. So I know they gave him the vaccine. He did not ask for it, but their protocols right now is saying you're going to get stuck with it. So to me, going to a hospital today is a death sentence. And they're getting very antagonistic to the people in the hospital, as if you're literally a prisoner. and you must do whatever they say. So the idea that you can be in charge of your health care, that's gone today
It's so
in most
sad.
cases. That's
So,
why I like that meme of the Spartan warrior with his shield, his helmet, and his spear, and he's going off to war. And it says, I'm not going to war because I hate the people over there. It's because I love the people behind me.
so have you gotten into, Dan, have you looked for land? Are you familiar with private membership associations? Because I had thought that that'd be a really good way to hold, like the people who come into the group would be members of the private membership association. They follow essentially, as I understand it, I need to understand it a lot more. Again, I'm kind of new to these topics, but private membership associations kind of based on natural law, and that there are many ways. It's all lawful, but not necessarily legal, as in doesn't follow can be very corrupt legal court system with judges and attorneys. When you engage an attorney, you're signing over your rights, etc. It has to do with more along the lines of, golden rule and natural law. I'm very interested in exploring that, and I've been speaking with someone who's checking into that too. And I might be bringing him in to join us in this series. We're looking to start a series along these lines to talk more about that. But there just seems to be so much involved with setting up this sort of a community. I saw that I sent you a link, I think, if you had a chance to take a peek at it, that there is a tiny home community in not Waldorf, but something like that, Oregon, along the coast. And it's the site of a former commercial nursery that had fallen into disrepair in 1912 timeframe. And he bought up that land, and he was able to, as long as people had tiny homes on that land, that it could be considered almost like an RV park. So he was able to set that up to operate that way. And they've got huge greenhouses and common space, and they cook together. And it seems really fascinating. I love the way that he set that up. I sent you a link to that. And I don't know that I know my husband, I hate tiny homes. I won't live in a tiny home. How about a yurt? How about an earth home, an earth ship?
Well, yeah, our concept is very close to that. We thought about one man or a small group of people would own the land and operate it as a ministry. Okay, so the ministry is exempt from government interference. Also, as a ministry, there is no taxation involved. So run it basically as a family farm, and people are invited to be on the farm at the will of the farm owners, and they can stick around as long as they want. And they can be in a camper, an RV, a tiny home, whatever they feel comfortable in, and work the land as long as they want. And when they want to leave, they're free to go. But while they're there, everybody has to behave. Everybody would have a plot of ground, grow their own food, but be like-minded enough that we would work together on some large greenhouses and some crops, animal husbandry, raise animals, humanely, chickens, and sell the eggs. And again, we'd have a central large barn, so to speak, which would house a commercial kitchen and a meeting area, classrooms, storage, workshop, wood shop, metal shop. Those would be held in common and taken care of by everybody, and sharing that. And again, open to the community, just like the Amish will do. If you wish to come in and behave yourself, then you can come in and we'll teach you anything you want to know.
Right.
And it will not cost you anything. You leave a free gift, a free will gift offering in a basket. That's up to you and the Father. We're not here to make money. It's a charity. It's a ministry. And I believe that if we build it, they will come, and it'll be blessed. We just haven't got anybody that has resources, whether they own land or enough money to buy land, to get off their wallet and trust us to do this. That's where we're at. Once we get somebody of means who believes that we're going to do what we say, then this will go forward. I've got a long list of people with talents in every area that we need. Naturopathic doctors, iridologists, herbologists, chemists, engineers, general contractors, drywallers, painters, carpenters,
That's
auto
wonderful.
mechanics. I got them
Wonderful,
all.
wonderful. Yeah, and I think that's so great. And we all have our gifts we bring to the table.
Yeah, I grew up in an environment like that. The lady that used to babysit us once in a while had a farmhouse with no running water. She had a pitcher
Wonderful.
pump on the kitchen sink. You had to take water into the bathroom and flush it. Well, actually, she didn't have a bathroom. She had an outhouse. That's right. She had an outhouse.
Did you think she was weird
No,
at the time? No,
no,
no.
no.
Okay.
We used to enjoy going to her house. In the wintertime, she had a potbelly stove in the living room with coal in it. And we would play on the carpet with John Deere tractors and play. And she was a grand old lady. It's just that we had to go outside in the cold and go to the bathroom and pump the water into a bucket. And she had a glass that had drinking water in it, so you didn't have to pump it all the time. But we didn't think it was weird. And we had an aunt that lived up in the mountains, and she had no electricity either.
That's such a beautiful experience. I love that, Dan. Thank you for sharing. And I remember, growing up and meeting people who were just a little different from the norm. And I was always fascinated with them and had lots of questions like, why do you do that? Why don't you do that? This is how we do this at home. Why don't you do that? And it was always really interesting. But I thought, my point, I'm going to circle back, that I was trying to make about organic. And I said, what my grandparents used to call organic food? She said, what? She was so interested. She's so curious. And I said, food. They didn't need to specify because it was all organic. Nobody put the GMOs and the pesticides.
Right.
They call it food. So she thinks, I think she thinks I'm a little weird, but hopefully in an interesting way. But so
a lot of the people that think we're weird, there's a very good chance a lot of them won't be alive much longer.
I know, very, very sad. And I had heard that, saw something like, where are all the strong men these days? As sadly that, yeah. And sadly that there's so much even chemical interference with our food. So much estrogen is coming into the food, and they're kind of behind the scenes, right? The part of the evil, the evil that's happening in our food supply. They're like flushing out the testosterone and replacing it with estrogen, and so sad. Sperm counts down, as you know. So people are having
a point. Yeah, a good point about your estrogen. A lot of people don't think about this, but
Right.
Ever since birth control pills, women are putting estrogen into the water table, and you can't filter it out.
Yes.
So that is a big problem. And for you guys out there, listen up. Organic cabbage, good for the T levels.
Really? I had not heard that. And what is it about cabbage? Do you know that?
I don't question it. I just know it works.
All right.
I got it from a natural path. There's several other foods too, but one of my favorites is cabbage. So if you get good organic cabbage, eat up coleslaw, pigs in a blanket,
yeah,
well,
sauerkraut, yeah.
Sauerkraut.
I'm assuming it kind of goes hand in hand, right? With these communities and homesteading and learning ways to preserve our foods and food shortages happening. We're listening to a man. He has a wonderful website. Which is Preparedness.com.
Oh yeah.
And he has wonderful videos, and you might have even sent me something that got me started on him. But he was talking about, because he has a store, and at that website, it's quite the impressive store too. And he said, I hear all the time from distributors, and he talks about like China is kind of like looking, you may have heard this, looking to control the shipping lanes of the world and the cost of containers now. He said they used to be something like, don't quote me, something like $3,500 each. And now they're up to like $28,000. Well, now
wow.
like 28,000 each. And so that's why we're not getting as many goods and things in there. And I look for signs. I like to shop at natural grocers here in Colorado. Everything in their store, especially their produce, is organic, and I just like to support that. So I've noticed that there are gaps in their inventory on their shelves, and so I've asked them. For example, I said, why I've been looking for this or that, and do you know why? And she said, no, I just know there's a problem with shipping, or there's just a problem with supply. And she said, I don't ask questions, I just work here. And I wear my mask if they ask me to. So anyway,
I know
I'm looking for
I know
signs of food shortages. So
there's going to be shortages of everything. I troubleshot my neighbor's air conditioning unit out here in a mobile home park, and there's a blower motor that's gone bad, and it's been over 2 weeks that we've been waiting for a new blower motor. And it used to be these were stocked in a warehouse and they could bring it out the next day, and now we're back ordered for 2 weeks for this blower motor.
yeah, I've definitely heard that. You probably heard, I guess they're low on the chips that are going into computers, making computers and things, and
Almost everything.
Certainly building supplies. I think wood. There was a shortage of wood for building supplies and things like that. So I'm just trying to. I heard coffee, well, everything, like you say. So looking to stock up. And of course, because everything is low, the prices are going up. What do you see it taking to make it reality?
Somebody or a small group of people with resources that trust what we're trying to do and are willing to put some money on the line to invest in it and get it going. Like I said, I've got a list of people that are hard workers, good, honest people. We're willing to put any kind of protection on this that they want, but just somebody either with land or able to obtain land that believes in the vision and knows that we have a good body of people that'll make it work. And like in the movie Field of Dreams, if we build it, they will come. I know they will. It's because we're going to build it with the right intentions. We're going to be strict adherents to God's law, and we're going to produce wholesome teachings, produce, animals, you name it. Everything that has to do with maintaining the earth as the way our Creator made it, so we preserve it that way and share it and not abuse it.
Right. And do you see, I guess after visiting the alpaca farm, I was talking with the farmer there, and I said, I love the idea of having animals on your farm that that you can get profit from without them suffering. You just give them a haircut once a year,
Right.
And you can sell the fiber to people who spin it and turn it into things, or you can do that yourself and make it into the products. And I love the idea of maybe like in a community like this, having a little bit of a cottage industry, like with the eggs, you could maybe sell them to local restaurants, or have farm stands, participate in local farmers markets, sell your vegetables, and have little classes on preserving food, charging a nominal fee for that. And I think I think God would support that coming out of your community efforts. It would be God's work and natural from the land and well-intentioned. And I love the idea of maybe having a little cottage industry, and everyone who works for that co-op, so to speak, could have, a little share in the profits, or just put it back into the, and let it keep it growing and growing and growing. And he said, I know, he said, I could never have animals here that we would have slaughtered. He said, I just couldn't do that.
I've got two individuals who are equestrian experts that want to be part of the community. So again, even that's covered. We got people that train and raise horses already that are wanting to be part of the community. So again, every base is covered.
Wonderful.
Just in the group that I know of. Okay.
Right.
And there'll be other people that'll come in from the, from the world, but
absolutely,
this core group Yeah, this core group represents a microcosm of what we're talking about, that the expertise within this one group, we could be a self-sustaining farm and not need anything from the outside world, nothing.
Right. And I'm wondering, like, with, well, and it goes without saying too, when we have the animals and what goes in and goes out, and we can have the compost piles that we create manure
Sure.
tea that goes onto the gardens. It's all this wonderful life cycle that we talk about, and that's really beautiful. But and I'm wondering, naturally need to get land, need to get land. And with all of these folks, Dan, who are interested in this within this network, do they have capability of reaching out to their sources to look for sponsors of the land? Would there be any way that, those who sponsor the purchase of the land, would there be a way that they could have a buy-in to?
Yes.
I don't know how that would look or work.
Well, here's how God works, mysterious ways. While we're talking, my other screen here had a pop-up from a lady that is used to be a real estate broker. She's looking to get investors here in Central Florida to buy land to do exactly what we're talking about. And while we're talking, the message popped up. Some amazing things are happening. So after the program or after our talk, I expect to see good news that there's going to be some land obtained here in the near future. So we've got the idea. We've got the team of people that can make it happen. All we need now is people blessed with either land or resources or both, who want to invest in what we see as our dream and vision. And if they share in that, we can make this happen, because we are frugal people. That's one thing about our group. We know how to stretch a dollar.
Right.
We're not afraid of work. I do a lot of work myself. I get very few professionals on my property now. I know how to work on all kinds of things from my background, and so do my friends. So we don't need a lot of money, and we don't need a lot of outside stuff. And we know how to stretch electricity, whether it's DC or AC, to where you need very little. And we know how to build homes that can be independent of air conditioning and still be comfortable. So we have that.
I love that, Dan, and I would like to suggest that if you're comfortable, maybe we could share, you and I, our email addresses in the comments below, and invite serious interested folks to feel free to join us or contact us, whether they're interested in forming a community in their area, or maybe, I'm not even sure, where we might locate or whatever, but if they're interested in knowing more. And they're also, there might be ways that, I love the barter system. And, like if folks are able, if they have the financial resources to help pool their investments, to help manifest land, that they could be returned in kind through a bit of a barter system. That if they do that a bunch of us could also, well, I can give you this, or I can show you this. I can give you some of my art, my award-winning art that might adorn your home. For example, I'm just thinking from what I might have to give, and that sort of thing that, we could do. We could, we're not asking them to just come out and give us some land that we wouldn't be willing to compromise and compensate them for.
Well, it'd be like the old days before the bankers got involved in anything. If you had a good idea, you would go talk to a group of men who had resources. If they believed in it, they would invest, and they would be part owners. Until they got repaid, they got a percentage of anything that we brought in from selling of organic foods or services or whatever. They got a cut. And eventually we either buy them out or work out some sort of a deal prearranged. But they are part owners and get a stipend until we reach the payoff point.
That sounds fair. And they would be like, shareholders,
Exactly.
stakeholders. They could have a vote in what goes on in the community, changes we might make if we want to build a greenhouse or expand a greenhouse, put up some
Right.
corrals, add some more feeding troughs, build another barn, bring in solar panels, what have you. And they could get a vote for whether or not that happens because they have an interest in it, a little bit of a lien holder sort of a position. But that's why I
Right.
want to know more about the private
Hmm.
membership association. I think it would be really good to get on that. I think we covered a lot of territory. Hope we have a lot of folks thinking about thinking, just being curious
Right.
and wanting to know more. Yeah. Thank you so much for all the energy. I started this today without even an intention of recording. I just thought we would just be chatting, but this is too good to not share, I believe. So hopefully
Okay.
everyone who tuned in thinks so too. And, take what resonates and leave the rest behind, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And Dan, blessings to you. Enjoy the weekend. And thank you for all you are and do. It's wonderful seeing you again.
Yes, it was fun. So anytime I can be of help, you let me know.
You got it. We'll stay in touch.
All
Okay.
right. Take
Bye
care.
for now.